What is up, you guys? Today, we are going to be talking about 5 lies that your realtor could be telling you. But before then, let's talk about today's beer. For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Robert Navarro, and this is the NewBuild.Real Estate YouTube channel, where we talk all things new construction and real estate. Before every single topic, we always talk about a different beer. Today we are talking about the Tupps New Color Machine. It's a double dry hopped Indian Pale Ale, and it is a 7% beer, which if you've been following my channel, you know I like myself some high percentages. Oh, it's a good beer. I like beers that are really flavorful and have a really good aftertaste, because there's some beers that have an aftertaste and it's really gross. This one, the flavor is consistent and then it just gets lighter. It's a good beer, honestly, maybe a little too good. So the very first lie that I want to address, or maybe misconception that you may have, is you need a realtor or a real estate agent to buy or sell a home. The truth is, you don't need a realtor and you don't need a real estate agent to buy or sell a home. You probably have seen all these, for sale by owner signs or different signs on the road that just say house for sale and just some random phone number. That's because this is the United States of America and you're free to do whatever you want. You can sell, you can buy whatever you want. You don't even have to use cash. Use the barter system, trade hay, trade your family, whatever you want to do. At the end of the day, you can sell your home by yourself and represent yourself. That goes the same for buyers. You can buy a home and represent yourself and not have any realtor or attorney to represent you during that transaction. Now, should you? In my personal opinion, and yes, you can all say that I'm biased because I'm a realtor, is you shouldn't. At the end of the day, if you're going into court, you want some sort of representation. Why? Because they know that system. If you're sick, you go to a doctor who doesn't necessarily represent you, but understands the system and understands the complexities to then make decisions that benefit you the same way that attorney would. At the end of the day, you're going into a legally binding transaction. You're going into a transaction that could be the most expensive of your entire life. So you want to make sure that every step of the way and every decision you make, you are making the right one and the best for you and your family. Not just financially, but there's safety. There's so much more that goes into purchasing a home than just money. If you have someone that's representing you either on the buy side or on the sell side, you know that at the end of the day, they are looking out for your best interest. So let's take selling. Why should you have someone that is looking out for your best interest? 1, exposure. A lot of real estate agents have access to tools and marketing resources that the common Joe does not have, such as the multiple listing services, such as connections within their offices, access to other professionals who know other buyers who are looking in the market. Whenever you list with me, well before I even go live on the market, I've already contacted other agents who I know are in the area, who I know are constantly working with buyers and saying, hey, I have this house coming on in like the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks. Do you think that your buyer might be interested? Because this is what I'm gonna be working on. And then they're already working on trying to get more eyes on that house. The more eyes, the more the price goes up. Why? It's a supply and demand thing. On top of that, when that offer comes in, it's not just a sales price that makes the net for the seller. On the flip side, a buyer wants to be represented because they don't necessarily, again, know what expenses they could be incurring during that contract or where they could be saving money by putting the expenses on the seller. On top of that, they're purchasing a house. At the end of the day, it is an asset, but at the same time, it could be a liability. What if that foundation is shot? What if that roof is completely uninsurable and now they're gonna buy this house and then the insurance company is gonna say, no, I know you already bought it, but we're not gonna insure it. You need to switch that roof out and pay $15,000 up front to get that fixed. There's a lot of things, or as many people call it, like a money pit that a buyer could be getting into that they're not even aware about, and having the right set of eyes to not only watch out for them contractually, but to also have the right set of eyes to say, hey, this looks off. In my experience, this is just a fun tip. I love the magnolia tree. But to be honest, when I see a magnolia tree that's really close to a house, I can already tell you that I'm gonna check the plumbing and I'm gonna check the foundation. Why? Because magnolia trees, while they are beautiful, they are known to have an aggressive and very long root system. And a lot of the times that digs into plumbing, that digs into the foundation, and it causes long-term issues. So why do I know that? Because I do this on a regular basis. Why do I know that? Because unfortunately, I've had clients who have had issues down the line, and I'm like, okay, well, we should have done a camera scope. We should have done a hydrostatic test. All these things that I have from my experience, I'm able to then bring that experience to the buyer and say, hey, that's a magnolia tree. You should do a camera scope or a hydrostatic test because there could be problems down the line. I could save you $10,000 now if you would just have hired proper representation and someone that has experience. So that is why you do not need a buyer or a seller to be represented, or a real estate agent or an attorney, but that is my recommendation on whether you should, on why you should have some sort of representation. So that is number one. Remember, you do not need it, but you do want it. Number two is something that unfortunately may be like a sleazy, and that's the truth, like either selling agent or listing agent is trying to get by and they say, oh, it's a new house, don't worry, you don't need an inspection. That is the biggest bullcrap I've ever heard in my entire life. Anything that is touched by human hands isn't perfect. It's just the truth. Anything that was built by someone, there could have been a step that was missed. There could have been something that was built incorrectly. People don't always have bad intentions, but unfortunately there are people that do have bad intentions. But let's just, for the sake of this video, assume that people don't have bad intentions. Things happen. You sometimes made a mistake where, you leave your cup on top of your car and you drive out of your driveway and now you're covered in coffee. You didn't mean to stain your car or whatever, get your car all dirty, but just simple errors in life happen. So now let's go to construction. You hire this builder to build you this beautiful home, and they start to construct it, and they meant to, plug in the duct system, but they forgot. That's actually something that I have found. Or they forgot to hook up the outlets to the actual electrical panel. Or even worse, they didn't connect the main drain to the plumbing system for the city. All these are examples of things that I have encountered and have helped my buyers identify well before they close. The reason I give you these examples is not because the builder's out to get you and they didn't want to plug the plumbing into the main drain, or they didn't want to connect the receptacles to the electrical panel, or they didn't want you to have nice, cool air. It really is, they're humans and they made these errors. And as soon as we found these on the inspection report, as soon as these errors were identified by either myself or the inspector or the buyer, the builder immediately said, holy crap, you are right. We are so sorry. Let's get this fixed. It gets fixed, it gets addressed, and then boom, you move into a house that's safe, that's easy to live in because you're not going to be sweating your butt off. And three, if you flush the toilet, it's going to leave your house, which I think most of us want. So when you hear that you don't need an inspection, whether it be new construction or pre-existing, do not believe that. You absolutely need an inspection across the board and on every single home or piece of real estate that you buy. So yes, number two is I don't need a home inspection, or you don't need a home inspection. In this case, we said for a new construction home, but I'm just gonna keep that to a general, I don't need a home inspection. That is the biggest lie. Anyone who tells you that, run, they don't have your best. Number three is one that honestly really irritates me, is all realtors are the same. That is bull crap. Not all realtors are the same. In fact, one of the most clean lines that you can see between two realtors is commercial and residential. If you meet most agents and you ask them, do you do commercial or do you do residential? They'll tell you, oh, I'm a commercial agent or I'm a residential agent. And most, depending on what side of the line they are, they don't really mesh. Or if you're a commercial agent, you tend to refer things to a residential agent. And if you're a residential agent, you tend to refer things to a commercial agent. In my opinion, that's what good agents do. If you come up to me and you tell me, Robert, I want to buy a skyscraper, and the commission for me to earn there could be, I don't know, I'm gonna go crazy, $500,000. And I'm like, I'm gonna go represent you. I'm doing you a disservice and I'm not doing what's best for you. Why? I don't know crap about skyscrapers. I don't know what to look for. I don't even know where to start looking for pricing or how to even determine the cost of a skyscraper. But if I'm looking out for your best interest, then I'll say, hey, Seth, I know that you have $100 million to spend on a skyscraper. Let me introduce you to Rance. Rance is a phenomenal commercial agent who deals with skyscrapers all day and all night. He breathes and lives skyscraper. That is looking out for your best interest, referring that out to an expert who understands those specialties. Again, not all agents are the same. Can residential agents do more than one thing? Yes, they can. But I would tell you, if your residential agent tells you more than maybe one or two different, topics of the residential world, then they're probably not masters of a specific trade. Again, I can do all of them. I choose not to do all of them because it's a disservice to my client, which leads me into number 4. Realtors are free to buyers, or realtors are free. That is the biggest lie. It's something that a lot of agents for years, at least in the state of Texas, I'm only speaking for Texas, have said, oh, you're a buyer, don't worry about paying me because I get paid by the seller. One, that's always been a lie, and it's been honestly just a marketing ploy that misleads the consumer. Because the truth is, someone is paying that realtor. That realtor is not working for free. Now, you've probably heard of all these lawsuits that have come up about realtor compensation and all that. And to be honest, if your realtor is like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened, they probably are pissed off because they might be a shady agent themselves. And I know that I'm gonna get some pushback from realtors, but the reality is this lawsuit has opened up the windows or the doors, whatever, for transparency between clients. From the get-go, when you sit down with me, you sign what's known as a buyer representation agreement, the same way that you should be doing with all your realtors. And most realtors, I'd say a high percentage of them, do have you sign a buyer representation agreement. What is a buyer representation agreement? It's an agreement that states that the realtor is representing you in a transaction or to help you to secure a home. That buyer representation agreement is an employment agreement. It says that you, the buyer, are hiring Robert Navarro, the realtor, and these are the services that you're securing. It goes into this whole list, such as, home search, showing, advice, consulting, blah, 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 all this stuff. So that's what a buyer representation agreement is. So when agents used to say, this is free, like my service is free. No, the seller is paying for it. And I could be lying to you about what I'm getting paid. And unfortunately, a lot of realtors used to do that. They would say, oh, I'm only getting 1% on this deal. I can't give you a closing gift. Or no, I can't give you a bonus. Or no, I can't do that, because they were lying about what their actual compensation was. And that to me has been the most frustrating thing for years. Why? Because I've always believed in transparency, ethics, and so much more that, thank God, my parents have instilled in me, that I should be transparent. And I tell all my clients, hey, in working with me, this is what I get paid by the other party. But just so that you know, if I'm not able to secure my commission or payment from the other party, as my employer, you are liable for that commission. And the reality is, that's been the case for years. What used to happen, or what has unfortunately happened, is buyers would sign this buyer representation agreement, employment agreement, and then the seller wouldn't pay the buyer's agent commission, and then the buyer would then turn around and sue the buyer for compensation. Why? Because the buyer now is liable for the agent's compensation, but since they were just told that, my services are free because the seller pays for it, now they sign this agreement betting on that. And that ends up screwing over the buyer. So the whole point of number 4 is buyers agents are not free. They have a cost. Who pays that cost is 100% negotiable. In the world, everything is negotiable, to include realtors. But do not sign a buyer's representation agreement today thinking that that service is free. Someone is paying for it, and it could be you if you don't read the fine dotted line. And if your realtor is too scared to talk to you about compensation, they are not a true professional. They are probably not looking out for your best interest. Lastly is number 5. And that is something that I keep hearing a lot amongst my realtor colleagues, amongst social media platforms, and so much more for agents, that they're saying is that interest rates do not matter. And that is unfortunately crap. Interest rates matter. But why do interest rates matter? Interest rates matter because they determine your affordability. For those of you who may have been in the market a couple years ago and then maybe took a lapse, or you've been in the market for like 3 or 4 years, you probably realized when interest rates were closer to 3%, I could afford a $400,000 house. Now that interest rates are closer to 7 or 8%, I can only afford a $325,000 house. There isn't a direct correlation between interest rates. Like if interest rates double, that doesn't mean that your home affordability is cut in half. But there is a correlation between interest rates and your affordability. Why? Because interest rates, in short, is the cost of money. And we'll be making a video in the next couple of weeks over what is interest and what is interest rates and how it affects you. I encourage you to come back in like a week or 2 and check that video out. But for the sake of this video, interest is the cost of money. So a bank borrows money from the Fed, and then that bank lends it to you. So the bank is borrowing it at a certain interest rate. They have to put their margin and then lend it to you. So interest affects how much money you can borrow to then purchase a home. Now, why are we hearing so many realtors say interest rates don't matter, or don't worry about interest rates, they're gonna go down? Is because there is some truth to that. The truth is, right now it's an opportunity for you to, what they say is marry the home. So they say date the rate, marry the home. You can, for the first time in years, go and pick and shop and pick the home that works for you. You're unfortunately not going to have the best or the most favorable of terms that, if you compare them to the past 10 years, are complete trash, but you at least have the opportunity to pick a beautiful home that meets you and your family's needs, where you want it and how you want it, but you are paying a premium for it. On the flip side, with interest rates being so high, now you can't afford as much of a nice house. But everyone's like, well, we'll just wait for interest rates to go down. Interest rates will inevitably go down. And what's gonna happen? Everybody that's on the sidelines with you, waiting for interest rates to go down, is gonna rush in, and home prices are just gonna go right back up or stay where they're at. And you're gonna be in multiple offer situations. And instead of being able to pick that house, you are now having to take what's available. It's just the truth. My point is, interest rates matter and they determine how much of a house you can afford and even maybe where you buy. But you need to determine what your goals are and what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, renting is 100% interest. You get 0% back. So if you're someone who's genuinely considering purchasing a house in the next 5 years, buy a house now. Buy that house that you want, where you want it, how you want it, negotiate with sellers, all the repairers, make them do whatever they want. In my particular case, if you want to hedge against interest rates, new construction is the best way to go. Not only are interest rates generally lower because of how much incentives they offer, but you get to completely build out that dream home that you want because builders are giving you all the incentives and all the upgrades at pretty much no cost to you. So at the end of the day, if there's anything I can do or you want clarification on any of these topics, I really want to communicate with you guys a lot more. So in the comments below, let me know which of these did you honestly learn something about, or which of these surprised you the most. So that's it. Those are the top 5 lies that I unfortunately get questions from other consumers or clients or buyers, or I read on different forums, or unfortunately even hear realtors say. And to recap, number 1 is you need a realtor to buy or sell real estate. The truth is, you absolutely do not know. If you are competent, you are capable, and you've been around the block, you could probably do it on your own. But as I mentioned, you really should have some sort of representation, or you should have someone that knows what to look for or what to do that's in your best interest, depending on what side of the transaction you're on, during that acquisition or sale of, real estate, property, whatever it may be. Number 2 is that you don't need a home inspection, particularly new construction. Bull crap. As I said, anything that's touched by human hands has a certain level of imperfection. Get that inspection even for new homes because you want to get as close to perfect as you possibly can. And number 3 is that all realtors are the same. That is also a bunch of crap. I kind of broke it down between commercial and residential, telling you guys that those are even completely separate worlds, but I broke down a little bit more into the residential space. That realtor that works in the investor side or the new construction or the farm and ranch side is completely different from the other. You want to make sure that at the end of the day, the person that you are hiring to work for you and represent you is knowledgeable in their field, not just in their particular niche field, but in their area, their geography. Number 4 kind of correlates to number 3 is that buyer's agents or agents are free. No, they're not. Someone is paying for them, and it could be you if you sign a document that employs that realtor to represent you during a transaction, and you may be, again, end up paying for it when they told you it was free. Realtors don't work for free. No one works for free. That's just the reality. You wouldn't do it for free, so why would anybody else? At the end of the day, not only do you want to make sure that you hire someone that is competent in that area, but you want to make sure that they are delivering the value that you deserve and that's in your best interest. Again, not all realtors are the same, so not all agents or realtors are compensated the same. Number 5 is interest rates don't matter. That's just crap because it determines affordability. But that statement could also be true depending on your situation. If you just need a home and you need a place to live, whether interest rates are 3% or 10% and you're renting is still 100% of interest. But if you're looking to do some sort of investment, or you are looking to purchase a piece of property that you may not be holding on for a very long time, then there's things to reconsider. Interest is the price of money, and interest determines how much house you can afford. Depending on your goals, depending on your objectives, interest may not matter. So that is, again, a recap of all the top 5 things that I unfortunately have to hear, deal, or address with. But at the end of the day, I genuinely want to know which one of those surprised you, or which one kind of opened your eyes to something. Leave a comment below, and I want to know what you guys think of these top 5. Am I full of crap myself? Do you guys agree? Or what would you guys add? leave a comment, like I said, and I will personally be connecting with you guys. At the end of the day, like I said, I specialize in new construction. That's my bread and butter. I absolutely love it. I'm on construction sites. I'm meeting with builders. That is my niche. That is my specialty. So if you or anybody you know is in the market for a new construction home, I want to connect with you and I want to be a resource to you. So click on the link below and schedule a call to meet personally with me. We can go over all of your dreams, your wants, your needs for your new home and make that a reality. See you guys next week. Cheers and have a good rest of your night.